Okay, so who can become a change maker? As in a change maker that is capable of working with the current reality settings, conquer and yield, what do you call it? Yield or wield, that's the one. Wield the fourth cycle energies into transformative energies and have the potentials or already have begun to develop the fifth cycle chromosomal structure. So that's kind of narrows it down, and you'll say kind of, do I know if I have that or not on all of these kind of things? And in a way, you probably should already have some indications that there are specific traits that goes with being a game changer. And one of them is for sure that you have your entire life tried to beat the system. But that does not necessarily mean that you actually are a game changer. That could also just be that you are having genetics from a faction that is not satisfied with its emplacement into the enclosure. So we can't really say that that's the sign of it. So this is again where it becomes difficult. Can we classify and categorize and make a template reading? And I could tell you, oh yeah, you're a game changer. No, not possible. Because you don't really know a hero until you have a situation where that type of hero is needed. So it's something we become in the situation. It's when we are in the situation that shows us what we're made of. That's where we show that we are game changers. We could have been docile for a very long time. Sorry about not pronouncing it correctly. We could have been lethargic, docile for a very long time and being all content with this society and been kind of what we call dormant or sleepers. And then certain things kick in and then we change. And that's what happened to me. Yeah, I was all about this protesting when I was young and feeling everything was unfair, and I was studying and I had certain skills and I had a lot of issues, and in that manner that I didn't fit into society. That's what I mean with the issues, because in my world and what I'm connected to, oh yeah, I don't have any issues there at all. But when we talk about the issues within the base program, I definitely had, because I didn't fit in. I was dissimilar in 90% of my entire being, in the ways I behaved, in the way I perceived, in the way I were around other people. And I'm pretty sure if I'd been a kid today, I would have got a plethora of diagnoses in different variations, probably drugged to infinity, right? So that's not that I was a trouble kid or anything. I was one of these silent females, but I did raise my voice from time to time in class. And name one teacher in primary school and preschool, they've not preschool, but primary school, and the first steps of the basics, where you do from grade 1 to 9. I can't remember what you have it out there. It's different. Our school system in Denmark is different, right? But they would remember who and what I am or were. They just mention my name. Oh yeah, I remember her. Yeah. She was a bright kid. She did well in school, but not overly well, because I was not an A student, because I was dealing with otherworldly stuff already as a kid. And that, of course, kept me awake at night, and therefore I didn't get much sleep. And the whole learning in the linear way is not really my thing. So that's one of the traits, but that could also just be a completely dysfunctional hybrid inserted insectoid type of genetics that we're seeing in hybrids as well, because they are pre-engineered to the next sets of generations where these features will unfold, because that energy system will then be placed into a form in the parallel universal matrix, where that type of neural network will then work in a different way using biometric types of technologies that links it up to a sort of hive mind. So that's what they're seeding in here, producing here, and then transfer into their own system when the technology, quote unquote, is working correctly. So that's why we're having a lot of, or the ones that are under these programs with the inserted insectoid genetics and the gray genetics, they are having issues being in this world and their brain technically just work completely different. So that's also kind of, they could develop later on in life into becoming change makers if they are dumped by the parallel universal matrix. If they are not, well, then the ones that have inserted their genetics into that human to be able to produce these hybrid genetics and be the forerunners of the next set of body, they will fight you to their teeth. I've seen that and experienced that so many times now with these hybrid projects, that they have a huge portion of insectoids that present themselves first because they want to be freed by their dark overmaster or over mistress, because sometimes it's a female. And then once you have freed and work with sometimes the insects, they leave, and then what's left will be the inserted Atlantean genetics from the dark master, dark mistress, that have tried to get the ability to get a body back within the parallel universal matrix. So that's what a hybrid project mainly is all about. But there are also versions of hybrid, different versions of hybrid projects. I'm not going to go into that classification. But many of you that think you are a game changer and a change maker, you are of these projects and you are only a change maker so far, then you will begin to feel the limitations, as if you breach some of the limitations you have, you will be pushed quite far back into where you belong, as in, yeah, you are a game changer so far. Call it a game changer here. You are a change maker so far because you are here to change another system. But here you change to that percentage. And then you're limited because we're not interested in you developing the original skills for this system. So people that are part of these hybrid projects, they are still forerunners of our civilization, so to speak, because they are on top of the game and can later on develop into many, many different new scientific branches. But they will all be within what we call the transhuman parallel universal matrix settings. That's the sciences they will work with. And that's why they've been implemented. They're also being run by the event program, and they're held up by the event program, even though they don't know of it. Many of you that are under these programs, you have no idea what program you're part of. And you'll say, well, Randy, again, can you tell me what program I'm part of? And when I've done, it doesn't go well. People really don't respond well. And then when I look at the program, the block stoppers that are there will then hit me, and then I will be hit by the charge of preventive mechanisms that are ensuring that you as a person is definitely not going to beat the program that you're under. So that's also part of being a change maker. You need to be able to beat your own program. You don't need anybody else to tell you that this is what you need to do. So there is this enormously strong inner drive. You see, most of the people in the fourth cycle, they are very keen on getting others to tell them what to do. They have mentors, they have bosses, they are in families. They like the tribe dynamic somehow. They like being in charge, but not completely in charge. They don't like being the leaders or the bosses or the ones that are going out and becoming the project managers. They might like it in theory, but when it comes down to it, yeah, not so much. When the going gets tough, they're simply not tough enough. That's where the whole, I like being kind, and I don't really like to be the boss, and I don't really like to be this strong personality that puts my foot down and says that's enough and put up the limitations and do things that people don't like and ask people to do things they don't like. You see, being a leader is not just about being kind of Augustus the Great with the sun shining above your head and conquering countries and you are this great hero. That's complete archetype. That has nothing to do with it. To be a leader, 90% of the time you have to do something that most people are actually not really agreeing with, but we'll discover later on, yeah, that was the right solution, but I was not really eager to change my ways, so therefore I resisted it because I had my perspective of where I were and how I wanted things to be done. And I'm just here in my little cubicle doing things the way I want to do it. That's what most people think. And they make their own little rhythms and their own little comfort zone. And this is how I do it. I come in, I drink my coffee, then I do this, then I do that. They get these routines, right? And then you have the leader that comes in with a job and a task, and and then you suddenly have to get out of your routine, and you have to do this, you have to do that. And sometimes you have to learn something new. And most people are just, when they're in the cubicle, no, please don't. I'm in my cubicle. Let me be here. I'm just doing my little busy being work here, as in kind of the insectoids, right? I'm just have that task, and I don't want to go beyond that task. I'm content with that task. I don't need the big responsibility for the rest of the office and the whole company and the financial markets and all of the taxes and the administration and dealing with that coworker down the corner that, oh, she's a nasty one, having to deal with her. Oh, no, thank you, no. And all of these kind of things. So that's what leaders do. Leaders are in a picky situation. They need to, that's also when we talk about quite a lot that are growing from being co-workers into becoming leaders. They have enormous issues with really, quote unquote, controlling their peers, because they used to be best buddies, and now they're suddenly asking people to do something that they don't want to do. And normally you were standing there bitching about the boss asking you to do this, and now you're the boss asking your old peers to do this, and that never really goes well. So if you are a change maker, you can't be change maker and peer. You have to be the one that is saying, okay, I expect and respect. I respect where all of you are and what you want to do, but we need changes. And therefore, I'm ready to take on that responsibility to my shoulders, and I'm ready to do what it takes. And in that, you might not like what I'm doing. You might not like me when I'm doing it, because this takes a different mentality. I can't do this if I have to soothe all of you while we're doing it. Similar as being a parent. You have the toddler. You need to know where to set. A no is a no. Other times you can kind of say, yeah, it's okay. It's not that important. Pick your fights with the toddler, right? Sometimes you have to say that's a no, because that will not further out in the future will lead to some pretty severe ramifications if allow you to become a habit in your personality matrix. So therefore, no, as a mentor, as the one that is looking at you and knowing what the society is all about. I know how you should behave, and that behavior is not acceptable. Therefore, this is a no. Not that you explain that to a toddler, but that's the idea. You can explain that to a grown-up. But at the same time, we can also say, well, that what is a no is within the perimeter of both the parameter and the perimeter of the ways that the enclosure works. So when we are raising up our kids, those of you chosen to have so, it must do within the context of the society that we're part of, and at the same time also teach them innovative ways of a different world where they later on might be able to bridge into that one. So as a parent and as a change maker, you will have that obligation to look at your child and say, well, I need to teach you how to administer the enclosure first, so that you function within that. So you get your job, you get your education. If you choose to do so, you can also just choose to float around and be seasonal worker or whatever you choose to do. It doesn't really matter, but so you can pay your bills. Find a way so you get food on the table, pay the bills, and then you can do what you need to do. And if I were to, again, you can't teach a child that doesn't have the abilities for it. That's also an enormous important lesson to learn, that we think that if anybody can change into everything. That's not the truth. If you have the skills for it, you can. Then you can refine these skills and you can make them more dominant. But if you don't have the skills, some of the things you can learn, but you never really get to the excellent state with things. There has to be some kind of foundation there already, and that's the genetics. So we can teach the fourth cyclers a lot. And many of you have already struggled with the fourth cycle. And one of the things where I can say, where I really can see where if you can become a game changer or a change maker, is how quickly can you change something that's not working within the base program? That's the litmus test. If I ask of you, do 1 hour of exercise, how long does it take for you to get it into becoming a rhythm? I'm not talking about you doing it then 1 week at a time and then you get hit by some serious underworld energies and you're off a day and you can't do anything that day. Eventually you'll learn to do the exercise in spite of the hits, because you will discover that's actually good for you. But I'm here talking about I'm giving you a task and you're implementing it right away, the day after, or on the day, and you just continue it over and over and over again. You create it as a rhythm right there. I ask of you, do this, and you do it. How many of you are capable of doing that? Okay, you say, well, I've done it and I did it for 3 days and then this happened and that happened and then this and then that. And then I just kind of say, yeah, there you have it. The excuses are the worst. I don't want to hear any excuses. And this is where I kind of say, well, Brenda, you're really buzzing out. Yes, because as a change maker, you don't make excuses for yourself. You go in and say, that's fucking weak. And you give yourself a kick in the butt and you do it in spite of tiredness. You do it in spite of you being lethargic. You do it in spite of your whole body is fucking aching. But what you do is you say, well, I might not be able to do one full complete hour, but I'll do 15 minutes and I'll do whatever the fucking it takes to do the 15 minutes. Because then at least I have raised my flag and said, yeah, you can shit me all you want, but I'm still doing it as much as I can. And then when you collapse on the floor, there's no more energy. At least you can say, I tried. You're not bailing before you even give it a try. So that's the first step. If I give you a task and I ask of you to do it, how quickly can you do it? And keep it going. It's not just about, oh yeah, I did it for a month. No, you do it and you do it for the rest of your fucking life. You put in something and you do it for the rest of your fucking life. End of story. And then the next one thing is if kind of people are thinking, oh yeah, I got debt and these kind of things in the bank or what have you. And I say to you, okay, you need to get rid of that debt because that debt is part of your enslavement. And as long as you're indebted energetically as well. So therefore you're technically not a will-free person. You have to pay off the debt. Yes, you might not be able to pay it off quickly, all depending on who you are. If you are in a family situation, it will take a longer time. If you are an individual, you can work your ass off and then you can earn a lot of money and pay it off quickly. Depends on your situation. But you put things in motion to make it happen. You take contact to your bank. You put in a payoff plan, a payment plan. You make arrangements so you begin to pay off the debt. So that runs automatically. You get your affairs in order. And if I ask of you that in the session and within 2 weeks later, I ask you, have you done it? And you say, oh no, this and that and whatever came in the way. That's the week 4th cycle speaking. That's the parasite speaking. The 5th cycle go after the conversation where I asked you to do it. You do it right away or the day after. You get it in order right away. I give you a task. You do it right away. That's what change makers do. And if you don't get it from me, I'm just giving you examples here because most people should do that by themselves. That's what change makers are made of. They get that from within. Some of you might have to learn it. That's why I'm saying in the progression work sessions I've done this for a long time now. I've done psychotherapy. I've done healing. I've been working with people for so long. And when I ask people to do something, they say, oh yeah. And then they go home and then, oh, that came in the way and that came in the way and that came in the way. And then when we meet up next time, say, hey, yeah, I'll do it next time. I just kind of say, yeah, that was the window of opportunity. You were in my energy of strong will. And you didn't use that energy to get it pushed through. So you lost the momentum of that one. And that, by the way, was a test to get you out of the 4th cycle. Because what gets people out of the 4th cycle? That they show they don't belong there anymore. This is serious business, people. This is not me talking, sweet talking you and giving you all the opportunities as I've done in the transition science classes and in the progression work and in our sessions and these kind of things. This is when we talk about becoming a game changer or a change maker. You have to do certain things to really classify yourself to be part of the future that we are going into. If you want to have a say in what's going on, you have to show that you are a person that is worth listening to. And if you are that person that kind of, I'll do it tomorrow, nobody will respect you. I don't respect you. That's one of the reasons why in this level of work where when I give people a lot of chances, there is the rule of 3. You have three chances. But if you blow all of them, I know you're still too deep in the 4th cycle. So, and the aliens are doing the same stuff with you. They are testing you all the time in the different crises you have. And one of the crises will probably be to have an encounter with me. And there you will show if you are ready for the next step. Because everybody knows I know about how to deal with aliens, right? I've been dealing with them my entire life. So I know how to do this. I have memory of it. I know I'm telling you this, I'm teaching you this. And then they put you in that test situation where they will give, I just had one recently where I got a very deep insight into a hybrid program. I gave that information, I gave that energy. And the response from that person was to completely spin off, getting an inflated ego structure, territorial insectoid activation, and just became very attacky and very nasty and very not worth working with, to be honest. And then, of course, I had to put off the warrior response, principle 2. And that did not go so well either. Even though I was very explaining everything to the detail, it did not go well because that person was not that person in that moment. That was something else. Again, as I said, looking through. And once the whole shebang was over, that person wrote back, I don't know what happened. Don't even know why I said what I said and did what I did. And I said, well, I told you so. I already told you this is what's going to happen. And yet you did not take that first simple battle. You lost that one. So that's where we kind of say that's part of the change makers as well. If you have that situation, and yeah, you can fail once, you can do that stupid, all depending on how responsive you are, how quickly you go up into that whole territorial, aggressive level of whoever and whatever, because I've seen that in so many of you, and the ones I'm talking to, the ones that are writing me emails, they come forth with all of this nice, compassionate demeanor, spiritual teaching, new agey love and light approach. And then there are all the cracks, all the things that they are doing. I just had another one here recently where one had watched 2 videos and then felt she was absolutely in her prerogative to write me an email and tell me what was wrong with the way I build up my website and what I should do and how, and all of these kind of things, as in kind of, okay, you are here out of nowhere, listen to 2 videos and you feel that you are entitled to write to me and tell me everything I'm doing wrong. And here I would say, well, if you and I have been acquainted for a very long time and you were completely into my work and you knew everything about my work and listened to all of my videos, done all my classes, then you're inclined to tell me what I'm doing wrong. But on 2 videos, absolutely not. That is so disrespectful. And the whole energy that was around that was attacky, insectoid attacky. So I know that that was what it was. And I'm just closing that one down quickly. But did that female know what she was doing? Absolutely not. She probably thought she was helping me, right? So that's the delusion that happens with these people. They're thinking, oh yeah, I need to do this. That's the right approach. That's the right thing. That's the good thing. And they're all heightened with that righteous energy of why that's the right thing to do and not really testing it up against the principles and looking at it and thinking, should I do that? And I've done that as well. The first times I got on these different cubes and insectoid possessions and what have you, you just kind of, you change personality. And that moment you think, oh yeah, that's the right thing to do. But you are momentarily mad, to put it that way, because you're under influence of something else. So that's also part of learning to when to do and when not to do. And of course, we have just the normal, the last 2 videos, I just let off some steam there with some things I've had as issue for a very long time, because I really constrained myself while I was doing the progression work, because the point was not to go into pushing the buttons there, but I can only do it for so long because I'm not a tribal person. I'm not a 3rd cycle person either. This whole looking at people and looking this reality and looking at all of you good people out there and patiently waiting for you to learn your lessons and get to the time where you could do what you needed to do, and just waiting for the shit to hit the fan, knowing that that was coming and trying to support you in all the ways that you needed to be supported, because we were here talking about positive enforcement, right? So thinking that that was the way to work around this, because that was the old world order program. That's how you did it then. You didn't go in and shake people and tell them shit is going to hit the fan, because they wouldn't listen anyways, being like doing a big fart in the room, and it was unpleasant for a while, then it dissipates and then everybody goes back to business as usual. So not until the fourth cycle people, they don't change unless they get a crisis, they get a push. And many of you have seen that. You've seen the signs, you've seen the trends, you've seen the patterns. You've heard me say it for a couple of times, or you've had other people telling you that you're not changing because why? It's working well. And yeah, I kind of get that. I'll do it tomorrow. And then when the whole pattern collapsed, because the pattern itself had given you all the signs, I'm collapsing, you need to shift the way you're doing stuff because the way you're running things are depleting the foundation you're standing on. You are getting connected to elementals and shit energies. So if you continue to do so, you will fall with the rest of the universe you're part of. Not until that is in the face, that the Leviathan is looking you in your face and the Kraken is all over you, will you understand, perhaps I should have navigated in a different way. Yeah, my whole ship is sinking, right? I knew the Kraken was out there, but it doesn't come my way until it's there, eating you, consuming you, and demolishing your craft and everything that you're part of. That's an elemental, by the way. So you're kind of just saying, what does it take to become a change maker? Well, first step is if you put your mind up to something, you do it right away. And you do it. It takes time. It takes practice. It took me quite some years to get out of my fourth cycle dominating female energies of my mother, because she is an insectoid that is not particularly strong. And my father has this third cycle strong Y chromosome, not really being able to be part of a family, but was there because that's what you did it back in the 60s, right? So that was kind of that one. And later on, he jumped out when I was 11 and found another woman who had kind of what we could call the loner gene, the fifth cycle gene, but he's a third cycle. But she's a different, with some sort of Niborian genetics, right? So they don't have kids and they've just run their lives as a partnership. And that's what was right for them. So my father was put into this tribal family setting where he didn't belong because he teamed up with a female that was very tribal, very weak, very sluggish insectoid. So that's my mom in all of her dearness. And as you know, my mom is no longer my mom because her soul has moved on. And whatever's in my mother's human form, is definitely not my mother. It's a kind old lady, but that's not my mother. That's not my mother. My mother's gone. So that's what it is. So that's a walk-in. So it's fine. It's okay. My sister loves that new walk-in and they are having a good time. And my sister is getting her whatever she asked for, because the one that walked in was an offer that was given and my sister took it. I didn't. I said no. So that's not my mother. Okay. So that way you say, wow, that's harsh, Randy. The body is still around. It's still your mother. No, it's the body of my mother, but it's not my mother. So I'm not going to get entangled with that one. I can have conversations and be nice and polite, but that's a stranger. So I'm not going to get attached to that one because she's quote unquote carries the name and the body of who used to be my mother, a body snatcher. No. So was an early returnee. Many of you will experience that and you will find it difficult to navigate in that environment, especially if it happens to your kids. What are you going to do with that, right? So anyway, so that's some of the obstacles of the future where you will show if you are having the fifth cycle chromosome, because if you do, you will spot what's going on right away. You will not be soaked into human emotionality in the fourth cycle tribal. This is my family weaknesses, as my father always said. Blood is not thicker than water. Just because you're family does not mean you have to stick together. If the family doesn't work, you don't stick with it just because it's blood. But you go out and you find the ones that are your true family. So you see he had fifth cycle energies connected to him in what we could call a little bit different way than most had, including the female he teamed up with, which is my stepmom. So I taught different ways of being human, fortunately, later on. But he was miserable in that marriage because he was not supposed to be there. That's not his makeup. So I have both. So I was juggling between these two different types of energy settings of the fetal pattern of my dad and the fetal pattern version I got from my mom, and that created the foundational energies of me conflicting. But that conflict between the dark male and the sluggish female, so kind of already, and you say, well, that's why, Randy, because you grow up with that. You are projecting it onto all humans. No, that's kind of the standard males in Denmark and females. Sluggish, insectoid, dark males or slug males. I like that word slug. That's why I use it, because that's what they are. I'm sorry. I keep getting the slug in my mind when I look at these males. Just kind of, or I could go in the parasites as well. Elemental driven males that are just getting bulked out and getting more and more comfortable and getting more and more disgusting to look at and fattier and just kind of looking, yeah, not interested. Too much meat, too much alcohol, too much bad lifestyle, too weak and too lethargic and too, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. Not my kind of guy. Not really going for that one. Not at all. Not interested. Doesn't ignite anything in me. Complete lose respect for that one, including the females that are made of the same structure, which we have a lot of in Denmark. So Denmark is not a forerunner country. Absolutely not. So I'm not looking around seeing at these fit forerunners that are trying to change the world, because Denmark is not that type of country. I would actually say Denmark is probably one of the more well-preserved zoos where the encapsulation or the environment of the zoo where the animals are made very nice and very pristine, and they are well fed, while they're not discovering all of the different experimentation and harvesting that's going on. So that's also part of what we call the Western world. Yeah, it looks more civilized, but the harvesting that's going on, that's harsh. The experimentation that's going on, literally, compared to what's going on in Australia. But there, again, Australia is that kind of nice country, but that what's going on down there on many different levels, different, but definitely more visible. That's what I mean compared to Australia. And Australia is completely visible if you have eyes to see with, but up here in Denmark, it's very cloaked. It's very difficult to detect. So therefore, I quickly discovered when I began doing my material, yeah, just doing it in Danish, not getting us anywhere. So had to shift into English. So that's also whenever people from Poland or France or Italy or wherever saying, oh, I got difficulty with your material because I have to learn English. I'm just saying, yeah, learn English. I did it. Other people have done it. So why can't you do it? So that's another sign of that fourth cycle weakness. Oh, yeah, it's too difficult to learn English, so therefore I can't really do your classes. What a lame excuse. So that's kind of the trigger point here when we talk about what makes a game changer or a change maker different from other people. When you ask them to do something, when you ask something to do that is beyond what they are capable of doing right now, when you ask them to do something that takes more than they think they have, where they really get out of their comfort zone and out there in the deep end, how do they respond? What do they do there? Do they begin becoming aggressive and lashing out and drying off all of their excuses? It's everybody else's fault, or you're the bad guy, or whatever's going on. Or do they look in and say, well, wow, I'm out here in the deep water. I don't know how to fucking swim. I don't know how to solve that situation. So how do I solve that situation? How do I learn to swim? How do I sort this as quickly as possible? Because if I don't, I will fucking drown. So that's the difference. That's where we begin to say, yeah, now we begin to see the change maker mentality. So those of you who are kind of a little bit in a doubt, are you a change maker or not? For instance, what pushed me into becoming a change maker? Well, I already had the traits of it, but then I got married, I got a kid, and I was in a marriage, and I was supposed to be in all of that goodness of that one. And I suffocated. I couldn't breathe, not just because I chose the wrong guy. He was by all standards a typical Danish male, a little bit too much dark energy, but that's how it goes because my dad was that kind of type. So my fetal pattern, of course, drew that in. More or less same structure, a little bit more darkish, a little bit more uncertain because he was born in the constellation of the crab, by the way. So he had a lot of insecurity issues. He had issues with his mom, which my dad didn't have because my dad was kind of alpha male type. So I should have gone more for that one. But because I had this female version from my mom and all the things she went through after my mom and dad divorced. And that really messed me up with her guys coming in and out of her home and what she chose of males and blah, blah, blah. So I was a little bit messed up, let us just put it that way, by the actions of my mom. And I had to take care of my mom, and she was drinking too much and yelling all night with her spouses and waking me up, and very stressful environment. So I was a little bit out of order, let us just put it that way, picking her up and when she was going to the bars and get her back home. And when I was sick and I was just lying there homesick and she didn't come home, I had to get out of bed. I had to go down and pick her up at the bar. Yeah, so kind of see, that's my childhood, right? So my dad left, my sister left, and I was left with my mom, so I took care of her. So of course, when I kind of left home, I was not in a pristine state of having the greatest understanding of how to pick the correct partner. So I took the partner that kind of was there and who said he wanted me and all these kind of things, because I just needed a little bit of reprise, just a little bit, just breathe a little bit, just not so much chaos all the time. Please, could I sleep at night? Please, could I just for once feel that life is okay and I kind of have a place in this reality? And of course not. Because when you grow up in circumstances like that, you're coded for it. You're coded for chaos. So until you learn to change the chaos piloting that you have been conditioned into, you will keep retracting it. So that's part of principle 4, right? So I understood while I was in that marriage that I needed to get out of that one. And that's where I left my husband and to begin with my child behind, which was a bad decision. So I returned, went back into the marriage. And then the second time I left, I got my child with me. So that was where I kind of, that was the bad decision. That was the easy decision, but not the right decision. Again, learning the lessons the hard way. And then starting all from scratch as a single mom and building my life up and learning all the things that I had not learned in my chaotic childhood home, and were, parts of me were very mature, but a lot of parts of me had not grown up. So that's also why I know this whole process of learning to deal with society, because I could either go with the heritage of the females of my family that kind of had this weak, depressive, I'm too weak, I just need a male configuration, or I could go out and say, no, I need to do something else. And fortunately, I had my dad's wife showing me something else, right? So I knew there was a different way of being a woman or in a female. It's not just, I have to breed children, because I didn't feel that as something important. That my husband instilled it in me. He gave me this whole need to produce children because he has that gene. He is one of these breeder males that have that programming that whatever females he comes around, he impregnates her. He had 2 women before him that he had impregnated and then me. And then after me, he got another one where he bred another 2 children. So he's definitely a breeder of origin. Okay, so that's just a little bit of a personal, so I kind of know where I draw this from. So it's not when I'm talking about, I'm a change maker because I had a happy childhood and everything was good and fine. Not at all. I have become it in spite of it. I've grown out of it. I've shown my strength in spite of all the things that were sent against me. I'm a fighter. I wasn't back then, but when I came to the point of wanting to quit, that's where I kind of got the wake-up call from within. Wake up and see things as they truly are. From within, my own system kickstarted me. Literally. But that was when I was 22. And then yet I still succumbed and went into the whole marriage breeding program, what have you, because I thought that was the right one. Because when I did this whole waking up and getting there, I had many different crises in my life. One was when I went to Israel when I was 18. I had all of the experiences down there and I came back frightened to death. And I began seeing the other side and it freaked me out. So I did whatever I could to get out of that one again. And then I went into the partnership program and I was not happy there and I almost got suicidal by it. And that's why I got the wake up call, see things as they truly are. And then I went out of that one. I started all over again. And then I was just, that's too fucking hard. And I resumed into a partnership and I got pregnant and I did the female thing thinking that was the right approach. And then suffocating in it and then getting out of that one and then starting from scratch and looking back in my life and say, I can't use anything I have learned so far. I can't use what I got from my dad. I can't use what I got from my mom. I can't use the whole relationship institution of this society. I can't use the job situation of this society. Nothing fits me. So what fits me? That's the game changer and the change maker mentality, where you look around and say, no, off the table, all of it. Big clean up, clean table here. Just off with it, all of it. And you look at it and you say, okay, what do I then have to play with? And the first thing we have to play with is who and what we are, ourselves. And I began by looking at me and saying, I don't like what I see. So that's why I'm looking at you and saying, that's your flaw, that's your flaw, that's your flaw. Because that's what I do to myself. I'll look at myself and say, that's not working, that's not working, that's not working. I did it as a single mom. Whenever I looked at my kid and I thought to myself, whatever I learned from my childhood and whatever I have with me is of absolutely no use to what a human should be in this world. So I reinvented what it meant to be a parent. That's why I also chose to be a single parent my entire parenthood with my kid. No males. I tried it once and he came in, he created chaos. He came in with all of his, I'll do it tomorrow, sluggish, full cycle bullshit. I was just kind of, yeah, I'm done with that. Enough of these chaos males that don't know what to do stuff, including the females that don't know how to do stuff. I'm done with people that don't know how to do stuff. Sorry to say so. I'm done with it. I've been there. I've done that. I've done the classes. I've done the therapy. I've been working with the people for a very long time to give them all the chances in the world to prove that they could upgrade, that they could change, that they could do whatever they needed to do. So it's not just the aliens that are feeling a little bit, ugh, not again. Not that they're rubbing off on me, because I felt that ever since I was a kid, I was looking around and just thinking, what is going on here? Why don't people really do something differently? They have the capacity for it. Why are they not doing it? That question is still part of me. So that's part of the game changer and the change makers. We look at things and we think that can be done in a better way. And then we get inventive and we're willing to cut everything loose, change everything, tear down the walls of the institutions, tear down everything, let go of partnerships, let go of whatever, because we got an idea that should be put in motion, that should be put into effect. But we are also clever enough to understand, okay, that idea, it needs to be refined, it needs to be worked with, we need to experiment, we need to look at all of the obstacles, and then we go into a very strategic, intelligent process. What does it take to get that idea implemented? And is it such a good idea? So we are both the inventor, the scientist, the warrior, the fighter, the game changer, the change maker, and we are also the judge of our own project, because we are the hardest judges ever on what we're creating, because we know the ramifications of whatever we're inventing. So as Oppenheimer, when he invented what he invented, I know he was a left-wing brother, so of course he didn't have that. But if he were a progressive human, he would never, ever had done what he did, because he would have understood the ramification of the wrongful use of it. He would not have done this half turning the other cheek, blind eye, just looking at, oh yeah, this is so good for humanity. Some of those people that are doing CRISPR and gene editing. Oh yeah, we know there are these implications with it, but we can cure cancer with it. We can do this with it. We can do that with it. Yeah, who cares about all the downsides? Thinking, yeah, humans will probably use this the right way, right? Blindsided, naive, wishful thinking. Humans will only use this for good. Duh, when in human history has humans only used anything for good? So a change maker goes in and say, I know people are screwed up, and there are people out there that are so driven by the seek for power and all the wrongful use of energy and consciousness, because we have the fucking Atlanteans amongst us. They already done it. So it's in their bones. It's in their DNA. They don't know how to do it differently. And they will take all of that technology, all of that fancy things, and turn it into their advantage. And they will team up with the fucking Greys to achieve it. See where I'm going? So when we are change makers, we are also responsible for the fate of the world, no more, no less. And we should take it like that, and we should operate accordingly. We have the entire world as our area of responsibility, and the future of all civilizations as our responsibility. Everything else is naive, because when I talk about being able to go into the 6th dimension or in the 5th dimension, begin to work with the original technologies, if you don't know what's good technology, if you don't know what's bad technology, and if you don't know how that technology operates, and just kind of get all, wow, I got control of a cube, that's fucking awesome, I can do this, I can do that, wow, 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 I can heal illnesses and whatever, you are using it the wrong way. It's all for the materialistic goods. It's all for the physical form. When people say, oh yeah, I can do this so we can all be happy in our enclosure, in our little zoo, our little prison. All the inventions we're making will prolong the prison state that we're part of. Then that's not the right approach. You should invent things that will blast the walls of the prison and teach people how to evolve using the correct understanding of consciousness and energy, and using their psychic, energetic abilities, learning to work with reality under the systemic, dynamic sciences of what a world really is. That's what we're working for. And again, you're saying, well, Randa, that's way too much for me. I just want to invent a little thing that will take away drought. Fine, go out there, do the base program thing, team up with a transhuman agenda. They're using technology to solve everything. Go, off you go. Go out, do that. You're not part of this party. Here we are thinking big. Here we are thinking with the really big responsibility, because those of us who were of the original solar system, those of us who were and took part of the LPU and went here, we were that type of game changers and change makers. We came here because we had so much capacity that if things went wrong, we would be ready to push the red button and shut it all down. That's how big our balls should be when we are change makers. No more, no less. So that's another part of becoming a change maker. That is to test yourself. And you might think to yourself, oh yeah, I am that kind of person. Well, look in your life. Just look back in your life. With the challenges you have had, and some of you have been working with me in sessions, when I've gave you a challenge, how do you respond to it? If I asked of you to do something, did you do it or did you not do it because you thought it was a good idea or a bad idea? Of course, you can always think it's not about you saying, yes, sir, and then you use the salute. That's not what I'm asking of you. Of course, you should be critically thinking about if it's a good idea or a bad idea. But there's no bad idea in getting rid of your debt, is there? There's no bad idea of doing an education so you get some skills, is there? Or there's no bad idea in saying, well, if you don't want to do education, then find something else so you can be a seasonal worker, but then arrange your life accordingly. You can't both have a great mansion and then only earn money 2 or 3 months at a time. There has to be some reasoning in how you administer the base program. There's no perfect solution. But if I say go out and conquer the base program so you can release resources, so you can begin creating your transformative energy system, then you're on the right path. And you don't just say, I'll do it in 3 months. You do it now, fucking now, because the window's now. I'm not giving you this advice because you can do it in 3 months. If you can do it in 3 months, I'll give you another advice. Advices of how to change reality must be implemented right away in that now, because that's where the window is. Otherwise, I wouldn't mention it, because then it wouldn't be part of the pattern of change that you are in. Okay, so that's also important to understand as a change maker. You follow the patterns of change. So when something presents itself that this is what you do now, you work like a crazy person to implement it in that moment, because that's where the window of opportunity is. And that does not take a week. That takes 1 day tops, because the moment you go to sleep, the chances are you will be pushed into another timeline. So change makers change in the now and not in 2 days, not mañana, and not when the time is up for it, or when I've done this or when I've done that. You do it when it's in front of you. You change it when it's in front of you. You transform it when it's in front of you. That's one of the core skills of a change maker. Thank you.